The sea, vast and spacious, sometimes tender and calm, sometimes rough and ferocious, but always inseparable from the coast and the souls of the people living there. This is especially true for Zadar, an ancient Croatian town at the center of the east coast of the Adriatic Sea. Founded as a port by a long-forgotten Illyric tribe called Liburnia, the city today still depends on the sea, both as a significant tourist destination on its own and a crucial transit point for the whole of Dalmatia. The old Zadar port was located right at the old town. With the sudden expansion of the city and a drastic increase in traffic, the old port's capacity became insufficient and the traffic jams inevitable. Gaženica, former industrial zone at the East City Gate, was chosen as the ideal location, being a link between Zadar city center, the international airport, and the highways leading to the whole of Croatia.
Projekt Gaženica je nastajao dugi niz godina razvojem prometne infrastrukture Republike Hrvatske i dolaskom autoceste u zaleđe Zadra i naknadnom izgradnjom spojne ceste od čvora Zadar 2 do uvale Gaženica stvorili su se preduvjeti za razvoj luke Gaženica.
This is where the history of Zadar intertwines with the history of STRABAG, one of Europe's leading construction groups. Having won the international tenders in 2009 and 2010, the first two phases of this prestigious construction project were entrusted to this renowned company that has more than 73,000 employees in 20 countries across the globe. The project is divided into three distinct phases. The first phase is to remodel the coastline, both in scope and depth.
This borderline where we're actually starting now used to be the existing coastline, and everything that you see beyond this coastline up to the sea back there used to be the surface of the sea.
Work started with the reclaiming of land. Tons of stone material were laid at the bottom of the sea in order to create the area on which the port structures will rest.
Phase number one was a very intensive work period for us. We had to fill the sea with over 1.2 million cubic meters of material. This material was transported with over 130 trucks on a daily basis for over 1 year, and this was taken from the nearby quarry, Zapušane. It was transported all the way up to here, to Zadar. During this backfilling operations, we also executed some underwater excavation works in order to reach the required depth for the big cruiser ships so that they can dock onto the new piers when the port will be opened.
For underwater work, we insure one huge floating excavator. They excavate nearly 250,000 cubic meters from the sea bottom. In one moment reach very hard rock, and for this hard rock we should ensure the drilling with mining, because only ripping of such a hard rock was not possible.
Finally, the secondary breakwater was constructed to protect the port from the northwest winds.
The point where we're standing now used to be the actual old coastal line. That means that the whole land from this point up to where the port is constructed used to be surface seawater.
Phase 2 is the most complex part of the project, where the whole of a port will be built except for the terminal building.
Phase 2 is basically the construction of the whole port layout. It consists in generating 2.5 kilometers of new coastal line. We constructed 5 new piers for the docking of the boats, international terminal, coastal navigational terminal, and 2 small island ferry terminals, and also a fishery port for the local fishery boats.
Now what we are doing here in the second phase is really something, I must really say, a milestone in modern port construction. We are very proud and very lucky that we can use almost all the resources within our company. We have all the gravel and the stone material coming from our own quarry. The machinery was supported by our own machine department, and even the workers were employed by ourselves. This gives us a big advantage in terms of such a big project to be not so reliable from the market, and give us much more safety in operating in our field.
From my right side, you can see our site badging plant. This site badging plant is a capacity of 130 cubic meters per hour. But now we are lucky that we have our badging plant here on the site, because such organization bring us very high performance and a lot of insurance in daily production, but not only production and also transportation. With location on the site, we avoid all these problems with delivery of concrete on our site. This is the heart of our site. This part of casting yard we prepared and equipped for production of heavy blocks. These heavy blocks in final phase will be used for building of waterfront walls.
The biggest challenge is always under the water. You never know what you will find down there. The ground conditions are always very ununiform, especially when you have wall heights up to 20 meters, huge settlements would happen. So it's always a little bit tricky to stay within the tolerances.
Najveći izazov normalno je bilo sama težina betonskih blokova, kako su oni teški cirka 100 tona, bilo je potrebno naći dizalicu koja uopće može takve blokove prihvatiti i polagati u more.
From the quayside they will bring by ferry the concrete blocks. We take them off with our clamping unit, you can see there. The red one on top of the blocks. On top of that we've got a rotor unit, so the crane operator, he can lift the block up from the ferry or from deck of the missing link. And we've got a GPS system. The GPS system will tell us where we have to place the block. And we've got divers in the water, 2 divers. The divers will explain how far we have to boom down, if we have to rotate the block.
We have a lot of problems with visibility and waves and currents, but we can manage those problems.
The divers, they will tell you the last centimeters to the other blocks. They are your eyes on the water, so I can see nothing on the water here.
We have the tolerance of 4 centimeters, so 4 centimeters to left or right, it's good.
They're swimming around the block, if it fits to the other one, if it's leveled, if everything is okay.
Okay, what's the block in the clamping system?
Now the block is correctly placed and in position, so we can take the clamp unit off and we take another block.
There is always a high risk associated to the installation of 100-ton massive blocks underwater. The system we set up allowed us to reduce the number of divers to a minimum and therefore we had 0 accidents during the whole construction works underwater for the whole port.
The construction of the piers is different to the cables. All 4 main piers, what we have, they are sitting on piles which are driven from floating pontoons down into the seabed. The piles are entering some 5 meters into the rock formation, and afterwards the piles is cast with in-situ concrete. On top of these piles we have concrete beams and cross beams, and an in-situ deck slab is cast. This is the plateau where we are standing at the moment.
Izvođač do sada u svemu ispunio svoje zahtjeve. Po tom pitanju znači osigurana je maksimalna kvaliteta radova, što znači da i trajnost konstrukcije će biti najmanje 100 godina, što je bio kriterij.
I'm very happy with the performance we achieved here in Gaženica. We had a very good relationship to the client and the supervising engineer. The most important that we never had a serious accident here on the site, and we finished the project ahead of the schedule.
In the end, in Gaženica, it was filled with 1.2 million cubic meters of land. 250,000 cubic meters were excavated from the bottom of the sea. 160,000 cubic meters of concrete was used. 5,000 tons of reinforcement steel. 2.2 kilometers of a new coastal line was built, as well as 2.5 kilometers of a new road infrastructure, and in total 80,000 square meters of new terminal areas were built inside the port. But for us in STRABAG, it is not all about the numbers, nor do we see the port as a mere mixture of stone, steel, and concrete. We see it as the start of an adventure. An adventure that can lead us anywhere. It can show us the world. And lead us to new, exciting places. Or just bring us back home. This dual role of ports, as both a gate and a safe harbor, make them inseparable from human history. STRABAG is proud to be able to write history in Croatia, one of Europe's brightest stars. STRABAG. Teams work.